welcome to QPR Preview Show. It's number 10 of this season. We've all had a much-needed 2-week break away from QPR, but sadly, they've got to come back into our lives at some point, and it's a double-header straight away with trips to Huddersfield and West Brom. The hot topic of the last fortnight has, of course, been the future of Gareth Ainsworth after a humiliating 4-0 defeat at home to Blackburn. You'll have to let us know in the comments whether you think he should have stayed or gone. Dave, are you surprised he's still here?
I am surprised. I think if we lose 4-0 at home to Blackburn, that's pretty much curtains. But the way the club are, they kind of last season ended pretty terribly, and they did nothing about it. They just kind of carried on, and it took Liz Ferdinand to resign to actually change something. Although I don't think much has actually changed, but you just wonder what the club are thinking. I read Lee Hughes today saying, Ainsworth's going to make a few changes and, things will get better. But it's like, well, what's he going to change? You just look at the team he set up for that Blackburn game and what we've seen over the 20-odd games he's been in charge. I know it's not a long time, but there's just no sign it's going to get better. I'm surprised he hasn't gone, and it seemed an ideal time to do it, especially with Warnock out of work. That seems the most obvious change going, but they've stuck to it.
Yeah, John Eustace as well. Obviously, he's become available, so the names are there if they wanted to get them. We won't even mention Mick Beale, of course. I am surprised personally. I mean, I saw one poll that said 91% of fans wanted him gone. The club have obviously stuck to the guns. Why do you think it is? Do you think it's just giving him another few games, or can't afford to sack him possibly?
Probably a financial thing. They give him a 3-year contract. I know you've only got to pay off a year when they've changed manager, but it's probably money they haven't got. Potentially they've looked at it and thought we've been better away from home, and they've got 2 away games coming up with Huddersfield and Rotherham that on paper are winnable. So I think maybe they'll give him then, and then if it hasn't worked, change it in for the November break. But part of me just thinks they don't know what they're doing, to be perfectly honest, and that they're just going to hope for the best. This season looks an absolute car crash so far.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what's ramped up the pressure? Because we were talking about it last time that he was under pressure, but it wasn't anything like it is now. And it's the manner of the defeat, isn't it, against Blackburn? Because we said it in the last show. If you're going to lose 2-1 or 3-2 in an end-to-end game and concede in the last minute or something like that. There's a way to lose. To lose 4-0 to Blackburn, and let's remember that was a Blackburn side that had lost the last 4 games. They were struggling going into that game. To concede the 4 goals, they were like schoolboy goals, basically handing it to them on a plate. It was embarrassing, and that for me is why he's lucky, because it wasn't professional football standards, was it, that he had from his team?
No, it was abysmal. I mean, for me, it was the worst home performance I've ever seen. I was there for Vauxhall Motors. I've been there for a lot of bad times, but that was the worst I've ever seen. It was absolutely clueless from minute one. I mean, I know he said afterwards we had more shots than them, but if your shots are 20 yards over the bar, I don't think they really count as shots. It was awful, and he did it for the Watford game. He set the team up completely wrong for Watford, and we were ripped to pieces. And he did it again this one. I thought he threw Larkesh under the bus, playing a left back on his debut at right back with Duke McKenna in front of him. Good luck with that. And he obviously got ripped to pieces for most of the game. The defence didn't seem to have much protection in front of it. There was nothing going forward. It was a really weird team selection. And to sit there and make no changes at all until 20 minutes from the end when you're 4-0 down, just thought, come on, do something. I know the bench isn't full of world-class players or anything, but just change something. Just, it's not working. Like I say, I can't believe he wasn't let go after that game. He seemed to be walking around saying goodbye at the end of the game. It was that was an awful day. It was one of the worst.
It was. You mentioned Larkesh. I felt sorry for him. He was just so far out of his depth and played out of position. I think it was the fact that he was a left back, obviously playing at right back when we had 2 right backs on the bench, and then he brought Kakai on when the game was already well past us. It's those type of decisions that I think have lost Ainsworth a lot of goodwill now with the fans. And it's easy. He basically is on the thinnest of thin ice, isn't he? There's no other way to look at it. Managers have been sacked by QPR for a lot less than what Ainsworth has got us into now. Let's leave it there for a moment. Look ahead to this week's games now. Doesn't look promising for these either, though, when you look at the stats. 1 win for QPR in the last 8 against West Brom. Even worse against Huddersfield, 1 win in the last 11. Let's start with Huddersfield on Saturday. Doesn't look like it's going to be one for the neutrals. Not that any neutrals will be watching, but Two sides struggling for goals and wins. QPR 8 without a win, lost 3 in a row. Huddersfield 5 without a win. They have drawn 4 of them. And of course, the main news out of Huddersfield in the last month was that Neil Warnock, you mentioned him before, he's no longer in their dugout. Darren Moore has replaced him, but he's gone 4 games without a win so far. So he's going to be desperate to get his first win as Huddersfield boss in front of the home fans, isn't he?
Yeah, I like Darren Moore, and when you couldn't pick a better game, could you? Really, if you're looking for your first win, QPR are going to stroll into town. I mean, this is the sort of game we lose when we're good, let alone now. But you know, it's on paper. They've got to target this game to win. Surely, I mean, a heavy defeat, and I can't see how he stays in the job. If they lose at Huddersfield, they've got to target this one. Huddersfield they're all right. They've got some decent players, but they're a team we should be trying to beat, and we've got the players. If he sets the team up properly, they can go there and get something. But after that last one, I worry for what he's going to do.
Yeah, I do. I mean, for Darren Moore, you always think if he can't beat this QPR side, with the way the modern game is, Huddersfield fans are probably already going to be questioning in his appointment. So it's a massive match for him and a massive match for QPR because obviously both of these teams are going to be down near the bottom most of the season. Can't afford to lose those games, it goes without saying. And from a QPR perspective, 8 points from 11 games so far this season. So even if we have a superb week here against Huddersfield and West Brom, let's say we get 4 points out of 6, that'd be beyond our wildest dreams probably. We'd still be averaging less than a point a game this time next week. We're in a mess, literally, no matter what way you look at it. And every match critical, especially now Ainsworth is under pressure. After the disastrous setup against Blackburn that we've touched upon, are you assuming he's going to go back to the wing-back system here?
Yeah, he's got really. I mean, I don't really know why he didn't for that Blackburn game. He only had Cook and Field missing. Like you said, he had 2 right backs on the bench. I didn't really get it at all. But yeah, I think he's got to do that. Try and be solid. Play 3 centre halves, have Field and Colback shielding the defence. Try and be difficult to beat, and then nick a goal with the pace of Smith, and probably have Armstrong off the bench in this one. He's kind of struggled the last few games, hasn't he? But he's got the players there to set up to get a result there. It's just I'm dreading seeing the team sheet on Saturday to see what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paul Smith, he scored an excellent goal for Northern Ireland. So hopefully he comes back with a bit of confidence because, like you say, he has dipped a little bit recently. Reggie Cannon, we've not seen him yet, but he got an hour for the development side. Do you think he would come straight into the starting 11 or just off the bench?
Probably need him to, really, because Kakai hadn't been playing well, and you got to throw him in eventually. Do you throw him in against Leicester next week or against Huddersfield? You probably rather make his debut this weekend. You get, like say, you had an hour the other day. Even if he only plays an hour on Saturday, you've got to look at him. We've spent money on. You might as well play him.
Yeah, I'd like to see him start just because he might give everybody a boost. He's not been burdened by the past performances, has he? And he'll hopefully be fresh and inject some energy into us. I'd like to see him at least just get 60 minutes for those reasons and then replace him with Kakai maybe. Steve Cook, he was a huge miss, wasn't he? Because the 2 matches he's not played this season now, we've lost 4-0. We have to cross everything that he's fit, but I couldn't get a read. He did an interview with the official site, but I couldn't quite work out whether he was fit or not. Have you seen it? What do you think?
Yeah, I did. I don't think he is. He didn't seem to be that, saying I'm going to be back at the weekend and trying to change it. I think he's still out. We definitely missed him, didn't we? It's just having a leader to try and organise things at the back. They just look such a mess. But I felt for the 2 centre halves in that game because they had no protection at all in front of them. It was complete shambles, really. So hopefully I'm wrong and he is fit for the weekend. But I've got my doubts for that one.
Yeah, it was just strange because if Cook's out, then why would you move to a 4 at the back, especially when they didn't have Field? Like you said earlier, that's what's maybe put Ainsworth under more pressure is his tactical nous for that game just seem to be non-existent. We'll see. And then we'll have to see what he does in midweek because that'll be away to West Brom. They've had an inconsistent start to the season, a record of 4 wins, 4 draws, 3 defeats before the weekend matches. But they've kept 4 clean sheets in the last 6. They beat high-flying Preston 4-0. We're going to have to hope we catch them on one of those off days.
Yeah, you got to hope. I mean, when we played them last year, I mean, they looked like they were going to beat us 4 or 5, didn't they? But then they kind of sat back and allowed us in the game, and we should have won it in the end. trouble is, you look at their team on paper and you think most of their starting 11 would probably be our best player if they played for us. So if they click, we're in trouble there. It's going to be a difficult one. But yeah, they are one of them sides that blows hot and cold, really, isn't they? You think on paper they should be up around the playoffs, but they're just below it at the minute, aren't they? And I think that's probably where they'll end up.
Yeah, every time they seem to get motor, and it was the same last season, they then slip in a few results. All we can hope is they maybe see QPR come and think we're an easy touch and maybe don't apply themselves. One positive for QPR is their top scorer, John Swift, is out for 6 weeks. It's going to be a test of our squad, obviously, and I wonder whether Ainsworth is going to make as few changes as possible, because it illustrated against Blackburn that the players who come in are not where we need them to be. So he's probably going to have to try and just get as many minutes as he can out of every player that's available.
I think he has to. He needs results. He needs to get his best 11 out there as often as he can, because our best 11 is not a terrible team. I don't think they're a bottom 3 team. I think they're better than that. He needs to get it out there as often as possible. And you can't really, I know they've got a big thing about fitness and they blame the fitness for last season, but they're still picking up injuries this year with these super physios they've brought in. So, I think they've just got to pick their, as long as everyone's available, pick the best team possible and, go for it. Say West Brom blow hot and cold, so you never know. We have been better away from home. But, yeah, I don't fancy us.
No, it's just hard because he's got to make us harder to beat than we were against Blackburn. But we're not really a threat scoring goals anyway. So it's how he finds the balance, I don't know at the moment. It is a hard task. We have to acknowledge that. Before our predictions, it's worth looking back that it was this preview show on this week last year when QPR went top after beating Cardiff. We were talking at the time about whether Michael Beale was going to go to Wolves. Well, we've won 7 games of football since we had that conversation, and one of them was the match we were previewing at the time against Wigan. Is it the worst 12-month period you can remember as a QPR fan?
Oh, almost definitely. I mean, you think of how high we were after that Cardiff win and how good we looked, and Bill saying, "Oh, I'm staying" and all that, and he give it to Big, and you just thought, "This is it. We're gonna push for promotion this year." And then what's followed is it's unbelievable, isn't it? You got to laugh. I mean, it's been abysmal. When would you say 7 wins in that time?
7 wins, but like I say, one of them was the match against Wigan.
Yeah.
So 6 since then.
I mean, it doesn't feel like that many, to be honest. But yeah, it's been awful. You look at the home record. There were signs of improvement earlier in the season. There were better performances, certainly away from home. But it's completely fallen apart so quickly and so easily again this year. Yeah, not great. It's a year to forget. Hopefully it turns around and we have a better 12 months now.
Yeah, hopefully. God, from where we were, like you think back in 2021 when we basically had promotion form, just within 2 years we've fallen apart completely. And I can't remember a 12-month period as bad as this. I know we had like Mark Hughes, he was a terrible 6-month period or stuff, but this has just been horrific. And you keep thinking we're going to turn it around at some point, and it just doesn't seem to happen. Hopefully it can be this week, though. We played West Brom and Huddersfield, ironically, back-to-back in the same week last November, when we were arguably a much better side, and we lost both matches then. Are we going to fare any better this time, do you think?
I mean, probably not. I mean, I'm on a downer after the last game, really. I can't see where a point's coming from after that. Yeah, I think there's a chance they could get a draw at the weekend. But, like we've said, they need a win. It's their manager hasn't won a game yet. I mean, I just can't see us winning either game. I just don't think we have enough goals in us to win a game. We're always going to concede one, so you need to score 2-3 goals to win a game, and we haven't got that in us.
Yeah, you're right. We do need something from these games, and maybe the pressure on Huddersfield manager more, maybe that'll help us. He's going to obviously be under a bit of pressure to try and get a win. And I don't know why, but I somewhat fancy us against Huddersfield, and I had nothing to base it on. But QPR, when we have a look dead and buried, we sometimes pull out these wins out of nowhere, don't we, that nobody expects. Maybe I'm just fingers crossed that this can be one. But I think that is only on the basis that Steve Cook is fit. And if he's not, I think he's probably first name on the team sheet for me at the moment. Without him, it could be another long week. Fingers crossed we can just get 1 win out of the 2 games from somewhere. And if we do go down, I just hope we go down fighting like we've touched on, because that's going to probably be the difference between Ainsworth keeping his job and not is if we lose, how we lose. And if we don't get anything, it's champions-elect Leicester next week. So things are only going to get tougher from here. We'll be back to preview that one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as always. And until next time, come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.